Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. I was actually off to a false start at first. See, as it turns out, I I started broadcasting at exactly 8 o'clock, and I'm like, dude, what the frick is going on? Like nobody's showing up. I mean, I know I'm not like the most popular guy who's ever existed on the face of YouTube, but for the love of God, I figure at least one person would be in the chat. I just had this totally awesome stream earlier, this premiere of comic book courtroom case one. Was Cyclops right? And people were just like glued for an hour and 20 minutes. Holy crap, this is amazing. Like people, fighting each other and they pulled out swords and optic blast and schnicked and like it was wild, right? And I'm thinking, eventually somebody's going to show up. I was talking for 2 full minutes to myself, just doop, 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 and I'm like, nobody's in the chat. Like, what's going on here? I finally realized I accidentally made it unlisted. Oops. So I reset the thing up by 10 after, and I was like, hey, let me just do a start time for quarter after because, yeah. So that's the reason why I'm late, because I wasn't late, but life happens. Technology happens. Oy. Anyhow, what's up, guys? How you doing? So I see there's a bunch of talk in the chat right now so far about the Birds of Prey movie. I actually forgot that was coming out. It's one of the downsides of not having cable TV is that they don't advertise as much on the important places like the internet. So here's one of the biggest problems. I'm going to get into, like what some of you guys do. Actually, you guys can just look in the chat what you guys are each saying to each other. Um, this is the problem with not having diversity. And this does not mean, oh, add black people and brown people and gay people and what do you call it? Different religions. Is that no, that's not even necessarily just the only thing of what I'm talking about. Consider adding diversity of age. Because when you really look at Hollywood, the main thing there is that everybody's old. Even if you got some women thrown in or some black people thrown in or whatever, they're all old. Like, man, they are funking old. Like, really, really old. I don't think we need boomers in charge of everything. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Especially since the audience that they're actually looking for movies like this are not fellow boomers. Let's just call a spade, man. You're looking for Gen X and on. And I mean, like, even my grandparents 2 years ago, actually, I think 5 years ago, gave up a landline on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like for those of you who are actually young, a landline means a phone that's like on your wall or something that actually has the wire to it and it rings and you walk up to it and you pick it up and it's still connected to the wall. Hello, and maybe there's like a portable one and you got the antenna that pulls out. Yeah, that old ancient stuff, the crusty stuff. Yeah, that. Like my grandparents got rid of those like 5 freaking years ago, man. Like nobody uses them anymore for the most part. And I mean, when push comes to shove, here are these old people who still have phones on their walls talking about, now you make sure you get a good television ad. Listen, maybe for the Super Bowl, but you really want to push a movie that you want, Gen Zs and millennials to be watching, maybe advertise just a little bit more on the internet because why wouldn't you exactly? Right? So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Some people just they really just don't get it. They really just don't get it. And tonight I'm going to be doing my podcast. See, this is the live stream. I'm changing it. Change it to live stream. I'm going to be doing my podcast with Chillmonger. That will not be live. It's just going to be the two of us recording it, and then I'll loop it and I'll clean it up and do the editing for it, and then I'll throw it up on BuzzFeed, not BuzzFeed. What the heck is that called? Buzzsprout. I'll throw it up on Buzzsprout, and I'll throw in a link for you guys to check it out. I'll advertise it on my social media, but you guys can feel free to check it out in any of your podcasting, your typical podcasting stations. I know that iTunes will have it. There are people who are listening to it on iTunes. I'm just not actually on iTunes yet. One day, one day, one day. Anyway, it's a completely separate thing. Like it's actually me interacting with somebody directly, somebody with a very different viewpoint than me on most occasions. And at the end of the day, I can just kind of, let loose. I can actually be challenged on some things instead of reading something in the chat. And it's like, okay, cool. And oh, turns out he's actually here. So yeah, that guy. I actually hang out with that guy. So we'll be doing that tonight. You're still available to do that tonight, right, Chill? And then I'm actually writing all my notes on this right now. I got freaking 2 pages in a composition book already filled out. I know I'm going to have 2 more by the time that we actually start doing it. So yeah, I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be busy. But anyway, oh hey, look at this. Hello, King's Canal. Yes, let's talk comics. Let's. So what do you guys want to talk about? Because I didn't actually see the Birds of Prey thing. Um, no, I didn't watch the Tom King Word Balloon podcast that you posted on Facebook. I did read about it though. Taking the time to actually watch somebody's just the like the new series on your channel. Thank you very much. The comic book courtroom is fun to do. But yeah, with Corey, the deputy sheriff Corey. Sorry, we right after we're done. All right, cool, chill. So Tom King just did a podcast, and this is something that I'll be going into depth with, like seriously in depth with Chillmonger in the podcast. That I'll happily just give my opinion, my unchallenged opinion for the most part right now. Is that I don't have time to watch all the podcasts or listen to all the podcasts and all that other stuff. I really just don't have time. I wish I did. Like Elvis Presley a long time ago sang this song where he talked about it's too bad there's only 24 hours in a day. And more genius lyrics have never been written. I don't even know if they were by him. Probably not. But whoever wrote that, more genius lyrics have never been written. I am tired all the time because I sleep maybe 4 hours a night because I'm trying to get all my stuff done. My regular work, life with my kids, taking care of the house, other fun stuff like buying and opening up toys and stuff like that, and eating, and then boom, doing stuff for the channel. What do you call it? So anyway, yeah, I just didn't get the chance to actually watch the whole thing, but I did read about it. I did go into pretty good depths reading about it, and I get the general gist from it. So basically, what Tom King is saying is that uh, in the Batman comic books that he's no longer writing, he was basically booted off of the comic book, and you could argue it if you want, but it's facts. It's there. He was booted off the comic book. He was bragging that he's going to be doing the first. He's going to be doing 100 issues, maybe more. Maybe we'll do 101 or 110 issues. And it's like, he got booted because enough people started complaining about it. Cool. I wonder if we could do the same thing with Bendis. We'll find out. With all due respect, we'll find out. But he was booted from the comic book. Issue number 86, I believe, was his final issue, right? Anyway, so he's doing his thing and he goes on to Word Balloon. From what I hear, Bendis hates Word Balloon because they're critical with him. Actually, no, not Word Balloon. Actually, it's the Weird Science DC. Yeah, and them, like, we follow each other, but I think it's like, whatever. Um, anyway, yeah, I got to start checking that out because my buddy Comic Boom says that who I'm going to have on the podcast one of these days. He says that that Bendis doesn't like them because they're hard hitting. They don't throw softballs. So here's the deal. Just as a quick aside, there's a chance that there's a Coachella Costa. That's maybe I will. There's actually a chance that I'm going to have some people on the podcast. I could get people on the podcast tonight maybe not tonight, but maybe tonight if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that though. I don't really want the podcast to be about special guests. This is about the hard hitting stuff that's like, essentially pull no punches and just like, I'm going to be challenged and stuff and I'm going to challenge Chill on stuff. And we're going to really delve into it. Because that's the way that I look at, there's got to be a difference. Hey, what's up, Dylan? Happy Dinosaur, binging my videos. Thank you for watching the ads. Happy Dinosaur, love you, man. That's the only way that all of your favorite YouTubers get paid. Just saying, it's not just for me; it's for every, including PewDiePie. You know, saying you like the idea that PewDiePie's making $1 million, help him make $101 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, let the ads play, even if you open up a video in um, another thing. So, mm, not a huge fan of that name, covert racism. Not a huge name of that. Names like that, I watch you. Any little thing. Yeah, he said it himself. You know, Maya Angelou said, believe people when they tell you about themselves. So, watching you, bud. Anyway, yeah, I'm cool with having a couple of guests show up in places like this. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just me promoting people. The podcast is more for that hard hitting, like, no gloves, this bare knuckle and just freaking going at it. I just want to, boom, that's what I want the podcast to be very different from this. So I don't expect to ever really have guests on the podcast. It's literally just talking about the comics, the comic related things like the movies. So I will go into it a lot more, the Tom King thing, but my opinion right now is that, yeah, Tom King can say what he wants, but when push comes to shove, we all got to take responsibility for ourselves, man. There was the comment about, me not sleeping enough. Oh, I'm seeing a challenge. So, what have you now? You know what? I got to stop. Nice bait. I got to stop looking at the chat for a moment. So anyway, to finish this one up. So with Tom King, look, people ask about, why don't you sleep a lot? I don't sleep a lot because I have a fear of failure and I have, a lot of anxiety, believe it or not. And I really just want to succeed. I don't do anything unless I believe I can succeed at it. When I first started doing um, my podcast, when I started doing this channel, everything, and the only reason why I did it is because I saw other people doing it and I thought I can do it better than them. And in my own way, I can do it better than all of them. No, not everybody's going to believe that. Hell, I'd be surprised if 10% of the people on that look at this kind of content would think that I do it better than other people. But it's that 10% that I'm going for. You know what I'm saying? It's that 10% that I'm going for who like what I'm doing better than what everybody else is doing. That's my base. That's what I'm appealing to. You know what I'm saying? By just being me. And you don't get anywhere in life by sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people who could stay the whole day in bed. And I'm like, dude, I get depressed also. And sometimes you got to bow to that. Other times you got to just get up and say screw it because I'm just going to get more depressed if I'm just laying here. So I get the sleep that I need and then I move on and I just start, banging things out. Just it is what it is. Um what do you have here? Basically, I don't think that Tom Taylor's taking a lot of responsibility for what he's done. He's been doing Batman for long enough. Batman is the number one, used to be, the number one selling comic book character of all time. I mean, you're a Superman fan, you're a whatever fan, you got to admit, Batman is the comic book that sells. He's got more appearances in comic books, more crossovers, more sales, more publications, more everything, more history even than Superman or anybody else out there, right? So you're writing Batman. At some point, man, come on. Like, come on. Oh, I was planning on just killing him, but not really killing him. It was going to be like a cliffhanger ending. And I wrote that in, and and the word balloon said, "Oh, did you get any pushback for that?" And he says, "Well, actually, no, I got the exact opposite. I got pushed forward." Is that is that I don't know if that's actually the opposite, but okay, sure. Anyway, I'm literally just needle and threading this one, that particular regard. Him saying, "No, I got pushed forward. Why don't you kill Alfred? Why isn't he dead? No, 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 no. Kill him, kill him, kill him." I don't have a plan for killing Alfred or for bringing him back. Don't worry about it. Kill him. The funny thing that might seem like, oh, some sympathy for the devil, some sympathy for Tom King, right? No, none, zero. Because he says, I'm going to fake kill him off camera, you know what I'm saying, off panel, whatever, and then I'll bring him back before my run is ended at issue 101 or 10 or whatever he's going to be doing. But you didn't have a plan for him to come back. He admitted he didn't have a plan for him to come back. Dude, I do some face rip games, and I've got multiple campaigns going at the same time, and I weave them in together with what I've done in the past, and I base them on what I want to do in the future. And I mean, there's a certain level of, you can't see all the way to the end game, the final comic book you're ever going to write, but for the love of God, you can at least go a couple issues in the future. You don't know. You're saying that you're going to kill Alfred and then bring him back, but you don't know how you're going to bring him back. Well, then how are you going to kill him? Maybe that counts. Maybe that matters. This is the weirdest thing. This is one of the weirdest things that I hear people saying. Like, it literally just does not make any kind of sense whatsoever. How is it that you could say all of these things, but we're supposed to believe them? Right? So I wasn't in the CIA. I don't know interrogation like Tom King probably does. But I'll tell you, I know a goddamn liar when I hear one. And this dude is lying through his freaking teeth. The story doesn't mash up. So it's either he's lying or he's dumb. And I don't think you can get into the CIA if you're dumb. So yeah, this is really mean, but this is me. This is me just saying it like it is. You can't give me some crock of crap and feed it to me and say, "Oh, look, it's beef stew." Really, because it smells like dung. No, I'm not going to eat it. No, taste it. Sorry, olfactory. My sense of smell is very closely connected with my sense of taste. I'm not stupid. You know what I'm saying? I was born during the day, but I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not eating this, so I'm not eating that. No, I don't believe Tom King at all in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. It's a crock of crap. I'm not buying it. So no, no, no. He wanted to kill Alfred. Alfred, is told, kill him anyways. And this is something that I'm going to touch on later also in the podcast, the idea that Geoff Johns needs to quit DC Comics. All right. I'm really not going to say too much more on that right now, but like that's one of the major topics. So spoiler, Geoff Johns needs to quit DC Comics. And then all of a sudden, some way, somehow, things will get better, even if it's through Darwin's general law of survival of the fittest. That's what needs to happen. The cure for DC Comics, one way or the other, is Geoff Johns. And I'm going to get into that in the podcast in and of itself. Anyhow, what else you guys want to talk about? I would love it if we all got to talk about Tom on a live stream interview. Man, you guys can talk in the chat. One of the things I'm going to be doing is for the Patreon or for the YouTube live, when I actually do go live with that, is I'm going to do another one that's going to be exclusive for subscribers on here, and I'll try and get the patrons in also somehow. I got to figure out how all that happens because, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. I do want to get it so that I can pull a couple of you guys into the stream and actually start having some conversations. Yeah. Oh, hey, Reggie, why didn't that pop up? That's just like a little one. Anyway, Reggie Simmons, thank you so much, brother. Much appreciated. You know what? What are we going to go with? You know what? I don't think we've gone with, I was just dubbed Master Splinter in a game that I run. Everybody wants to be a turtle, so I get to be Master Splinter, I guess. I kind of want to be Yosaki, but oh, yes, young turtles, you must feel the energy flow through you. And of course, the greatest scene in any movie ever. And I'm not going to be able to do it the right way, but on this day, you have become more than you've ever come before. I am so proud of you. Okay, I'm going to start crying now. That was the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, live action, where they summoned they summoned Master Splinter, and it was like a major thing. And oh my god, wow, just one of the greatest scenes in movies ever. At me, at me. Um, some people talking about what is this? Oh, hey, pop culture philosophers. What's going on, guys? Pop culture philosophers in the house. How's it going? Um, oh, the Oscars are tomorrow. Yeah, I don't care. Look, let's go back to what I was saying before. Deputy Sheriff Corey. It's old people. It's old people. That's all it is. It's old people. I mean, the Academy Awards, the Oscars. This isn't like the Blockbuster Awards, which is at least a fan vote, you know? I mean, like they don't go by how much movie you make. They don't get to see this, that, or the other thing. It's literally a bunch of old people handing out little paper ballots and going, which movie do you think deserves an Oscar? And, for this and for that and for all these other things. And then they take it's like, okay, this is the one that got the most number one votes. This is the movie and the person and the this and the director, whatever, who got the most votes for this. But unfortunately, it doesn't reach this threshold. So instead, let's go back and we'll look at this and we'll look at these instead. And it's like basically, if more people consistently vote this movie to win, but it's their fifth choice, if more people vote for this to be their fifth choice than for it to be their first choice, and something else is most people's first choice, well, there's more consistently with the fifth place vote, so we're going to make that the first place vote. Like I said, go check out Vanity Fair's video about how the Oscars actually work. You'll look at it and you'll say, dude, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. It makes sense how they do it. It's pretty easy to understand how they do it, but you're still going to say it's easily nonsensical. So, like, honestly, I don't care. It's people saying, oh, wow, like it's got Martin Scorsese's name behind it. And Martin Scorsese wisely, I almost feel like this was planned. He wisely said, "Oh, I think that the MCU movies and all those superhero movies like that, they're all just the theme park movies." I don't really care because Martin Scorsese does some great movies, but he's also a one-trick pony. If it's not about the mafia, it's not going to see the light of day. He only does mafia movies. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a funny thing. It's like I'm usually not interested in mafia movies because I actually have family on my father's side who was involved in the mafia. And I'm hugely disgusted by that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in watching movies typically about soldiers because I was a soldier. I don't need to see that stuff. I don't play soldier video games. My buddy on Thursday is like, oh, dude, man, Call of Duty, they're going to drop the price down by 90%. It's going to have actual night vision goggles. Like, actual night vision goggles? Well, no, not like military grade, like little fakey, replica ones. Like, I'm not interested. No, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I'm good. The actual night vision goggles could be fun, but now I'm just not interested, man. I don't play war video games. I don't feel the need to. I'm good, So look, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it genuinely just is what it is. Maybe it'll win, maybe it won't. Either way, it'll all be engrossed in politics. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be, well, Scarlett Johansson hasn't gotten, she's been acting for a long time and she hasn't gotten anything yet, but she did just do a movie recently. So you know what? Maybe it's time to give it to her now. So it has no basis on how much money the movie made, how many people repeat see it, how well the DVD sales did, if it even got to DVD sales, how much people, the critical response or the fan response. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just a bunch of old people who are trying to make some cute little vote to push things forward and people who think it's their time to shine. If that's the case, that means that the Oscars, at best, are outdated. Because, oh, this guy did a great movie 10 years ago, but there's all these other people who did good movies 11, 12, and 13 and up to 20 years prior, but now it's time to get to this guy because of the good movie that he did back then. It's outdated, man. It's outdated. I don't care. It's a spectacle, and I'm not interested in glitz or spectacle or any of that nonsense. I really just don't care. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Derek, what's going on, brother? The very, very excellent defense of Cyclops in today's the first ever comic book courtroom right there. Infinity War and Endgame are the same movie to me. They pretty much are the same movie. It was supposed to be called Avengers 1 and 2, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't do that. I might as well if I don't really care. Who cares? Like they were pretty much the same movie and they were freaking amazing. I know my Devastator is awesome. Oh, and you know what I got just yesterday? Y'all know what this is, right? It's a Quintesson. They got this and they sell it with a prowl and a shockwave toy. And I don't like those. I literally gave them to my kids. But the Quintesson, man, it's got all of the faces on it. If only it'll spin. And it's like, dude, but it's got the judge. That's the most important one. And there's little parts on it that actually open up and move. Dude, Quintesson. Yeah, dude, I love this thing, man. Oof, how you doing? I got a Quintesson. I got like 6 Sharkticons out there too. So stop motion animation time. I've literally been waiting for them to start selling that Quintesson. So I'd like to get 3. I don't think I can afford to get all 3. So I'll just stick with this one. Whatever, man. So anyway, um, well, yes, it is actually the best animated movie ever. Um, Akira was pretty damn good too, though. I'm just saying. So, what do we got here? Cyclops was right. Yeah, of course he was. Of course he was. It's freaking awesome. Someone might have put up an international poster. Wonder Woman 85. Kristen Wiig was mystically mutated cheetah. Possible spoilers. What about Secretive Nymph? Okay, here's where people start unsubscribing from the professor. I never saw Secretive Nymph. Never saw it. Never saw it. I seen Labyrinth and I loved it, but yeah, I used to watch, a bunch of TV back in the day, and I'm just like, yeah, no, no, I can't keep on watching. There's always going to be something. They're always going to be throwing something else at you. That's one of the main reasons why I don't watch sports. They're all the same game. They're just doing different things, but like the rules don't change. It's the same ball, it's the same players, playing different people. I've seen you before. I've never seen you before. I've seen all these different people before, and yeah, but like for all intents and purposes, it's always the same game. Put this ball or oblong ball type figure through that goal or through that goal, and points will be won. And they're always going to keep on throwing these games at you and stuff like that. And it's like, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. And yeah, it's cute. It's cute. I used to love watching baseball when I was a kid. And I'm probably going to start watching some more baseball with my sons because they're kind of getting interested. Plus, I live in Canada. It's been snowing every day. It didn't snow today, but every other day this week, for the most part, it's been snowing a lot. Like I wake up to the sound of snow plows outside. Like, what the frig? It snowed again? Anyway, so it's hard for us to go out and play baseball now, but you get like a tennis ball because you can at least see the ball. um, interact with the shark. Plenty of those. I find sports boring too. Titans AE is my favorite. What's up, Raven? How you doing, brother? Sports is awesome. It's a great album from Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis in the news. Dang. We're going to pull out some Back to the Future soundtrack on this one. Iron Giant. You know what? Iron Giant is always underrated, right? Dude, I'm saying, like, if the Oscars want to actually wake up and do something good, nominate Iron Giant. Because I'm sorry, you can't watch Iron Giant without at the very end, I'm Superman. Man, I'm gonna start crying again. Like that's a freaking amazing moment. It's an amazing moment. Holy crap. Um, Griffo, what's up, Griffo? Wow, I haven't seen you in forever, dude. What happened to you, dude? Did you get like kidnapped and put in a room? Damn, man. What happened to you? I remember Griffo. Way back in the day. Jeez. I used to call him Professor Griff. I used to wonder if it wasn't Professor Griff. You know what I'm saying? Like find this dude in an awesome suit with a bow tie, doing some great choreography in the background, and talking trash to Flavor Flav. I'm just saying, I was expecting it. What's my DJ's name? The first person who types that in the chat, you're freaking awesome. What do you call? Oh, you've been overseas for a while. Oh, shoot. Tell me about it, dude. Tell me about it. Where you been? What you been doing? Tell me like to a certain degree, of course. Hey, Professor. So happy with Tynion's Batman run. Oh, Slay. What's going on, Slayman? So happy with Batman's run so far. I got to be honest. I dropped Superman Action Comics. I don't blame you. Just because I can't deal with anything Bendis anymore. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. R.I.P. Kobe. R.I.P. And no disrespect to Kobe and or his daughter, but R.I.P. everyone who's died. I mean, there's a lot of people dying. Reggie Simmons is the winner. Reggie Simmons is absolutely the mother effing winner. Ah, man, my man. If you guys didn't watch the Was Cyclops Right comic book courtroom case that we did today, our first ever comic book courtroom, this moment right here by Derek McElroy is freaking. I when I was sharing the screen, all right, and when I share the screen, I didn't realize until I was watching it with you guys when it premiered that you can still see me and everybody else on the screen. I thought it just showed my screen because that's what it does for me. When I do share screen, it blanks out my entire screen and just shows what I'm trying to see. I only see my screen. I don't see what's actually happening. So people could be like flipping me off and I wouldn't see it. You know what I'm saying? I don't see my face going, huh, what this one here, that one. I don't see any of that stuff. So literally, like that reaction that I had when I realized that he was that he was going to start blaming freaking Bendis. Oh my God, that was as authentic a reaction as you're ever going to see on any human being ever. Because like he sent me the stuff, I was like, please label the stuff. I don't have time to look at this stuff. I'm going to trust you. You know what I'm saying? Like we've talked to each other, and all of a sudden, like he said, next panel, I flicked and I see Bendis there, and then that laugh that he does, and I was looking, I was like, oh my God, like this was me. That was a pure reaction right there. I was laughing my ass off, dude. Wow, that was great. Yes, Bendis is the real enemy. And you are a freaking superhero, Derek. I'll also be talking in the podcast, which will air tomorrow, probably around 4 o'clock, maybe sooner. It depends on how fast I can finish it. I try to aim for 4, but if I could do it a lot sooner, I will. I'd love to get up by like noon. That would be perfect for me. Anyway, depends on how much sleep I need. um, what have you now? So, yeah, I'm going to be talking about Bendis a lot on there too. He's doing some new stuff, and I'm actually angry, like genuinely angry about it. Professor, why are you getting mad over a comic book? You always say don't get mad over a comic book. That's right. I'm not getting mad over a comic book or a specific story in a comic book or direction of a character in a comic book. No, I'm actually getting mad at a level of disrespect at a certain writer that, yeah, just basically, and it's Alan Moore that I'm talking about. The level of disrespect towards Mr. Alan Moore is about off the damn charts right now. And it's going to tie into why Geoff Johns needs to quit DC comic books for his own sake. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, there's a lot there. Anyway, was Mr. Fantastic wrong for using a tracker dampener on his kid? The tracker is one thing, Viclops, but the dampener, 100%. What just happened? Oh, you calling Dylan a son of a bitch? I don't know. I never met his mom. I think that she's good people because like she raised Dylan, and Dylan's definitely good people. So that's a weird one. I'm just messing around. Anyway, but yeah, Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards undeniably wrong for putting that power dampener on his kid, and like he could have probably faked it. He could have faked it, real quick and be like, "Oh, I'm the smartest man in the world, minus, my daughter and minus Lunello Lafayette. I'm the third smartest person in the world, like hopefully minimum. We'll see. Yes, son, I did put the dampener on you, but it's because I was trying to protect you from like mutant nullifying devices because I thought that maybe I forgot to take it off. I'm sorry, son. I put it on because I thought maybe somebody used a mutant dampener on you, and that's how come your connection to God thing has dampened. I'm sorry. Like he could have just lied. Instead, he's like, yes, I did it because you're not old enough to make your own decisions yet. Man, you dumb as hell, Reed. Do parents never learn? I know that being a parent, it doesn't come with a user manual, but for the love of God, talk to people. Like, I am happy to talk about what not to do raising your kids, man, because wow, that's one of them right there. um, Rich is wrong, but you're 100% right. Pop culture, it's 100% in his character. You're not wrong. That's quite literally what this dude does. He just makes mistake after mistake because basically everything is just a science experiment to him. All of our lives are basically just science experiments to him. He's not all about that, let's do what's right for the world. Let's do what I think is right for the world. The maker is smarter. I don't know. The maker gets caught more. What's up, Cryptid? Um, how long do you think what will last? Tynion going through a honeymoon period right now in his Batman run. Well, I'm going to be discussing his Batman run and something that's going to make Corey, Deputy Sheriff Corey, specifically very happy because I'm going to be talking about his about Tynion's newsletter that he puts out. Tynion has a newsletter. I think he's up to like newsletter 6 or 8 by now. He's been putting these like he's a writing machine. He puts out a free newsletter. You can go and look up James Tynion the Fourth newsletter, and boom, you get all that information coming straight to you. This dude's got 2 brand new characters about to come out about 2 weeks apart from or 1 month apart from each other, like one issue after another issue. And there are 3 comics, therefore, that you got to get in order to have those key issues. But we're talking about 2 brand new characters, villains also. So we're talking about Rogues Gallery for Batman, and it's Tynion. I don't know. Is Tynion capable of doing wrong? Maybe. I haven't seen it yet. Like, the dude is freaking amazing at what he does. Bagel's looking to come in. The Empress has arisen. If I bet you Sue-Ann, who's on vacation, watching this in the background or listening to this in the background while she's playing Final Fantasy 14, she's all like, "Hey, Bagel's here. What's up, kitty? You want to come up? You want to come up? Come on up, Bagel, Bagel. Oh, my kitty, 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 the Empress Bagel. She has arrived. Yeah, Cheryl. Okay, crotch shot. But only while Bagel's here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So what do we got there? Professor, who are the worst? Just jumped. Oh shoot. Who's the worst superheroes to merge? Sorry, I didn't see that. Does Alan Moore hate everything he has written? Nah, Mark. He loves everything that he's written. He hates that DC, for the most part, takes all of his work and steals it. You see, Alan Moore, he's always written for smaller companies. Oh, jeez. Sue-Ann, all hail the Empress, Empress Bagel. See, she got off her game because I mentioned Bagel. I love you too, my Bagel. Here's a little kitty dance. Okay, don't want to do it too much because I don't want to scare her. You good girl? You good girl? Are you my good girl? Hey, girl. Hello. My Bagel. Anyway, so what were we just talking about? Darn it. The kitty's health has been good. The kitty's health has been good. So we were just looking. Oh, Alan Moore. So Alan Moore, basically, he's always written for smaller companies over in England, right? That's what he does. And with all of his stories, there's the idea that it's supposed to be creator owned. The problem is that DC Comics recognized that Alan Moore is one of the greatest freaking writers in the history of all comic books at the end of the day. So they stumbled upon him by accident with some of his work, with The Watchmen specifically. But then they came across and they found all this other great work that he's done also. And they're like, oh, so we're just going to go around and start independently buying all of these small companies that he's worked for. And it's a trick that DC has used almost since their inception, pretty much, yeah, since their inception. Blue Beetle, Charlton Comics character. They're like, oh, a bunch of cool characters over at Charlton. So you know what? Let's go and check it out. It is not a flurkin. It's a cat. She doesn't use tentacles out of her mouth to kill you. She uses ninjutsu, and she will kill you that way. She comes with her own little claws. Anyway, yes, my good girl. Look at you, you pretty girl, aren't you? You're a ninja. Yes, you are. You're the last thing that people see. Oh, if you guys, I'm telling you right now, if one of you guys gets scratched up by Bagel, don't sue, don't cry, don't whine. Just understand she caught you slipping and you deserved it. It's that. It's that simple. Anyway, um, so so they went around buying all of his stuff, and then when they buy the company, because he's not for sale, Alan Moore is not for sale. His work isn't for sale. When he turns around and he says, "I'm gonna keep this up for a moment so I can come back to it," Derek, and thank you for the super chat. When freaking when Alan Moore is not for sale, what does DC do? They say, well, we'll just buy the company. It's a small company. They're nothing like Charlton was and all these other companies that we bought. So you know what? We're going to take and sometimes they don't buy the character. They just do frivolous lawsuits to there you go, girl. I'll help you down. To take the character, like they did with Shazam, formerly Captain Marvel. Remember, Marvel legally bought the rights to the name Captain Marvel. They didn't want the character because that's disrespectful. Instead, DC was like, well, since Fawcett Comics can't do this anymore, we're just going to take the character. Wow, that's real noble of you, DC Comics. They've always done stuff like this, and to this day, they went around. They bought these things up. They bought these companies up, so they have access to the work that Alan Moore did. And it's like, wow, that's fussed. Um, when Alan Moore was writing for Jim Lee back in the day, when DC went and bought that company, the with the Wildstorm and all that stuff. DC went and bought that whole company, and Jim Lee said, "Listen, you work for me. You're not working for them, but please stay on." Why did he say that? Because the main only reason why DC bought that company in the first place was one, yeah, it's nice to have Jim Lee working for you if they can get him to work for them, but it's not like, it's slave labor. We want you, just hire the guy. You could just hire Jim Lee. But the only thing they wanted was more of what's his name, Alan Moore's work. Dude, DC Comics is a straight up shady ass company. Like that's just all there is to it. And their practices, even more and more, right now, they're showing they are shifty. You can't trust DC. If you write something good for a small company, you you got to make sure it's in the contract that if DC buys buys that company, that the work immediately goes to you, because dude, they will straight up like, we own this company now, so we're going to change the contract on you. Sorry, no, can't do it. You're better off self-publishing, because they're going to steal your stuff, dude. And if you don't want them to steal your stuff, like Alan Moore doesn't want people to steal his stuff, you're out of luck. So no, man, Alan Moore loves everything he's ever done. He just doesn't want people to take his stuff and start changing it and doing more things with it. Not interested. I can't blame him. So Derek, who's more problematic father, Magneto or Reed? Well, I guess technically we can no longer use Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in that regard, right? Because technically they're not his kids anymore, which is weird. So we'll just have to go with Polaris. Um, I would say Reed would probably be a better father because at least he's there. At least he's there. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, Magneto wasn't there, but he didn't know, and it's just like, what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. They just, I don't know. Like, it's a hard thing. So my opinion, it's really just my opinion. Seriously, in the chat, what do you guys think? I think that for the most part, Reed is probably a better father. Yeah. Let me see what else is on here. Let's just Marvel and DC are both shady as fuck. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So here's the thing. But what does I think that DC is way shadier. Here's the thing. in general pop culture, what do you think is shady about Marvel? Because they'll do some weird things, but shady like what these guys do. Mm. I My biggest complaint with Marvel is cheap gimmicks, almost like if they were just purely internet, they'd be the clickbait comic book company. You know what I'm saying? Throwing thousands of freaking variant covers practically every month at people. Sometimes not even the best variant covers. Sometimes pretty cool variant covers. But for the most part, mm, I here's another thing is I don't like the idea of the freelancing per se. But at least it's not freelancing the way that WWE does it. It's like exclusive freelancing. That's some straight up crap. At least like when Marvel and DC hire a freelancer, like to be an exclusive writer, it's something more than that. But in general, Stan Lee and Marvel's treatment of creators like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Marv Wolfman, etc. Okay, that wasn't Stan Lee though. That's the thing. Um, Here, Steve Ditko disagreed with Stan Lee and Marvel in general because he was an objectionist. He followed Ayn Rand's philosophy, something that's very similar to the current day libertarian philosophy. It practically worships that ideal that you pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you do this and you do that. And Steve Ditko's main reason for leaving DC was because he did that one. Uh, um, Comic book in Amazing Spider-Man where there was the students protesting the dean at the university, and he was like, he tried to have Spider-Man say things like, why are you guys protesting? If you don't like it, quit the school. There are plenty of other schools you could go to, or make your own school, or blah 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 blah. It's like, dude, nah, that's not Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's the case, and if you're an objectionist, it is what it is. But it's hard to call yourself an American anymore then, because at the end of the day, let's be realistic. Objectionism during the Revolutionary War, how would that have gone? Hey man, if you don't like RT and you don't like the idea of taxation without representation, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot, well then, and you don't like the British occupation of this land, well then, you know what? Just piss right off. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is going on, dude? No. Objectionism is completely contrary to the true American ideal of you revolt, you protest, you have a revolution when something happens that you don't like. And the dean is not the owner of that university. The dean is an employee. That's all he is. He's just a very very high paid employee. They're not the owner. So no, I think that Ditko was completely wrong in that, and he got mad and he's like, okay, fine, I'm out. Stanley refused to give Kirby and Ditko credit for their input in the mythology of the Marvel Universe. Also, not true. I'm sorry. That simply, my understanding at least, simply not true. Actually, I'll make sure that everybody can see it because I don't know if the comments are going to show later. They should, but um, he did give credit to people. One of the things that Stanley did that was wrong that I could say to Ditko is something that he actually had power over. First off, Stanley gave credit to people when nobody else would give credit to anybody for anything. He gave like nobody. They would usually only say story by so and so and art by so and that would be the penciler. If they did their own inks and colors too, cool. But for the most part, they didn't credit inkers. They didn't credit what do you call it? The the letterers. Stanley started doing that. So literally, like the guy who made it the industry standard to give credit to people, you're saying that he didn't give credit for their input into the mythology of the Marvel universe. I need to see actual proof of that. I need to see an article or an interview or something like that because I don't see that at all. What happens? Anyway, Stanley did make a mistake, and it was kind of egregious towards Steve Ditko. Stan Lee is given co-creator credit for the creation of Doctor Strange along with Ditko. The thing is, Stan Lee has openly said I really didn't have a lot to do with the creation of the character. I said that he should be kind of like this guy and this guy, whatever. But yeah, for the most part, I didn't believe in the Doctor Strange character. That was all Steve. So, he tries to take credit for Spider-Man because he did create Spider-Man. Whoever did the art, his argument I think makes sense. You know what I'm saying? You did the art because I told you to do the art and you got paid for doing the art. But like it's my character. I created everything to do with this character. You simply did the costume design. And the only reason why I accepted you doing the costume design is because I didn't like the costume design that Jack Kirby was doing. So there's that. Meanwhile, there's video articles of what's his name, Jack Kirby saying I created Spider-Man. You can actually find a video with it's his voice, it's him talking to an interview saying, I created this, I created that, I created Spider-Man." Son, there was nothing actually, father, there was nothing that you did to create Spider-Man. Nothing, and a whole heaping bowl of hot, juicy nothing. You didn't create Spider-Man, but like this is his mind, and so on to Jack Kirby. Anyway, so Stanley didn't give enough credit. Like he would sometimes on the cover of the what was it? Not Tales to Astonish, not Journey into Mystery, not it was Tales of Suspense, I think it was. Whatever it was, whatever there was like four major anthology books out at the time where these characters were depicted. And Nick Fury, Agents of Shield, and Doctor Strange were the two main stories in this anthology. Anyway, they didn't have the thing. They didn't give him he didn't Stan Lee told the cover artist, yeah, don't bother putting Doctor Strange in this because I don't think anybody's going to care about Doctor Strange. He didn't believe in the character. The character wound up being a pretty big success. You know what I'm saying? He's consistently had comic books throughout the Marvel, the history of the Marvel universe. And Stan Lee said, I was wrong. He admitted, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't believe in the character. I was wrong. Ditko was right on that. I mean, like the guy can, for me, one of the big aspects of a man being a man, human being, whatever, is being able to take responsibility for your own mistakes. And I feel like he did that. Stanley did a great job on that regard. As far as um Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko himself, God rest both of their soul, all of their souls. Steve Ditko himself never had the same problem with Lee that Kirby had. Why? Kirby's main problem with Lee was, hey man, you're the nephew of Archie Goodwin. And Archie Goodwin at the time was in charge of Marvel Comics. He owned Marvel Comics. Atlas, Timely Atlas Marvel, you know what I'm saying? So he takes your ideas. You're the one who said you want to start calling Marvel Comics, and he took your idea. He took a lot of your ideas. Your direction, your vision seems to be the thing that everybody's going for. You can be an advocate for me, to get me back my artwork and to actually no, not for that. I don't think he ever complained about Stanley doing that. I could be wrong. And you guys can check out my interview with Jim Shooter for more about that one. Shooter explained it better than I could. Um, what do you call it? So I don't have to re-explain it. Anyway, he wanted him to get him more money. He wanted him to get him more money. And he's like, I can't do that. I like I'm paying you what I'm able to pay you when I'm allowed to pay you. I can't do a whole bunch of, a whole bunch more than that. And he's like, well, I don't think that's fair. And I also want the rights to my characters. He's like, you signed a contract that was work for hire and bang, 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 bang. And that was disputed in court. And I mean, like, you know, look, lawyers are some sons of guns, you know what I'm saying? But the biggest problem, it's funny, the worst thing that happened to Jack Kirby was not Stan Lee. It was Joe Simon. Go back and look at those cases. Joe Simon tried to sue Marvel and say Captain Marvel or Captain America is my character. He didn't even say my character with Jack Kirby. He said it's my character. I solely created him. He was trying to steal that character from Marvel. Jack Kirby was in a deadlock. It's like, hey man, What do? I'm going to say that it's your character, you get the character. I'm going to say it's Marvel's character, Marvel gets the character. I never get, there's no scenario here where I get the character. And at the end of the day, Marvel did wind up winning because work for hire. That's the way that it works, and Marvel has to do that in order to whatever. And it's the same thing with DC. It's the same thing with all the companies, with the exception of Image comic books, which simply does it better than everybody else. It's true. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, no, he got credit. He got credit for all that good stuff. There was one thing else that you said up here that was interesting. Lee and the Son of Origins claimed that he may have created Captain America. Okay, the book Son of Origins. I'll have to look up Son of Origins, but I've never seen that. In fact, I've seen multiple articles and interviews, like voiced interviews, when he was with that Blam, whatever that was called, not Blam Bot, a little different. That's Dupe's voice. When he was with that one company, that scam company, but he did interviews where he's like, yeah, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, they created Captain America. But it's funny. The guy who actually created the throwing shield thing was actually me, because in the third story that was out, we always had there was the comic book, regular comic book story and a bunch of other stories, sometimes a second Captain America story. And there would also be a regular written story with no illustrations on it, just a written story. And one of my first works was coming in and doing those, when Archie Goodwin hired him to come in and start doing some of those regular individual stories. When he came and did that, he did this one thing where he was the first person who actually had it, that Captain America threw his shield. And yes, it was the round shield, because ever since issue 2, he had to have the round shield because Marvel was sued, I'm saying, for using the Battlestar shield, which looked like another character. It's just like it was a big freaking deal. I'm saying? You actually really have to look at the lawsuits, the actual cases. They're on file. You can find them on the internet. You know what I'm saying? You can request them if you want the actual physical copy. You know what I'm saying? But you can actually do that. You can take a look at them. The everything gets screwed up in law cases. And it's who's got the better lawyer, who's making the better argument and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I've seen too many interviews and otherwise, and I've seen the court cases where it doesn't seem to be the case. I'm not saying I'm guaranteed to be right. I'm saying it's more complicated than just Kirby said this, and I love Kirby, so sorry. Kirby's museum, estate, and family have been very good at getting most of his art back. You're 100% correct. And how he has creative credit in the Marvel books. Yeah, 100%. He does have that credit in the books. On top of that, it's the what's up, Lord Raiden? How you doing, man? Was $1.50. Yeah, it's a good week for saving your money. But anyway, yeah, it's funny. I just had a dream recently. I don't usually have dreams because I don't usually sleep long enough to dream. Go figure. Anyway, I just had a dream about a month ago where I got a hold of an old school Captain America book, one of the original 10, drawn by Jack Kirby, written basically and drawn by Jack Kirby. And I was like, oh wow. And it was in pretty darn good condition. It was like a six point something, right? And I actually brought it to the and I think I also had one of his wartime memorabilia. Anyway, so I brought it to the Jack Kirby Museum and and they were just like, oh my God, that's great. And just, yeah. So anyway, um, why can she fly and Spider-Man can't? Because that's in her power set. She's also essentially immune to radiation poisoning, and he's not. You know what I'm saying? She can fire venom blasts, and he can't. um, oh, different book entirely. Okay, I just checked. It wasn't the book Sons of Origins. Alan Moore said that it's not true. The controversy is when the first Captain America was filmed and Lee was credited as creator. Oh, I don't know. They also did that in this week's Captain America book, the Ta-Nehisi Coates book. They accidentally said he was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, not Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. And that was a bit of a controversy, saying that was a big controversy right there. Like, dude, what do you do? You seriously don't know who created Captain America? Hello, Bert. You know what I'm saying? But then again, DC has this problem all the time. How come William Moulton Marston gets credit for creating Wonder Woman? What about H.G. Peter? How come he doesn't get credit for what he did? You know? Um, you want to talk about shady? A lot of people always ask me, how come you give credit to Bill Finger for the creation of Batman, but you don't mention Bob Kane? Well, for one reason, because F Bob Kane, from the beginning to the end, in, out, through, up, sideways, down, and out. Like, screw that guy. You know what I'm saying? This guy this guy was a known swiper. He was actually called a swiper in the comic book industry. Everybody knew him back then that he was a swiper. Hey, if you want to have Bob Kane doing work on your art, just remember he's going to swipe. So if you don't want any, controversy or anybody saying something, don't hire Bob Kane to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. I know there's like a 7 to 15-second delay, but yeah, Pop Culture Philosophers is right there with me on this. What do you call it? This poor guy, he goes and he gets Bob, what do you call it? Bill Finger. He goes and gets this thing on his desk, for an idea for this character, Batman. Now, you look at what I just got finished saying about Stan Lee with Steve Ditko and the creation of Spider-Man. This was 100% his idea. When what's his name? Okay, English language. When Jack Kirby was presented with Spider-Man on his desk, he looked and was like, okay, listen, we're going to change a bunch of things and make this more sensible. First, he's going to be an adult, and he's going to have a ring that gives him spider powers. Okay. And like I'm actually using Jack Kirby's voice in my head. See, like one of those old gangsters, right? And Stanley was like, "That's not my character. I'm not going to do that. No." So he goes to he actually shops it around to a couple different people. What's your idea for this character? Because I think this is going to be the next big character. Spider-Man is actually his second favorite character. His first, Ant-Man. Yeah, another creation of his. Weird thing, right? But Hank Pym is actually his favorite character. It's the reason why he went back to him several issues later in Tales to Astonish and gave him the Ant-Man powers as opposed to just, oh, this happened. Saying, oops, this was an accident with science. Anyhow, so which happened not too long after the Fantastic Four's creation, which was coming out twice, every 2 months at the time for the first 6 issues or so. Anyhow, so what happens at this point? Like he finally goes to Ditko, and Ditko didn't change anything. All he did was he said, "Oh, okay, you got this idea for the costume. Hey, here's an idea. Let's put down these webs all across his uniform because I think that'll look cool." One of the only contributions that Steve Ditko did to the character was accepting everything that Stanley said and saying, "Let's put webs on his costume." For like, look, maybe Ditko would say something else, but he hasn't. He hasn't. Saying in his entire 92 years on this earth, he never wanted to comment on it. Okay, you believe you're right. You believe you're right, but I can only go by the information that I'm giving or that I'm given, and that's the information that was given. So, what you gonna do? What's up, Derek? How you doing, brother? So, I mean, when push comes to shove, it is what it is. Talk to you later, pop culture. Anyway, when I'm gonna have to go and check out one of his videos, guys. Make sure you check out Pop Culture Philosophers because yeah. Hey, Dylan. Oh, and don't forget to check out Dylan too because yeah. And no, I don't think that Bob Finger should solely get credit because it was originally Bob Kane's idea. But the way that actually worked was, hey man, check it out. Here's this idea that I've got, and it's basically a Buck Rogers looking character, blonde hair and a little, Zorro mask, saying something to that effect, and red shirt, and he had like these wing contraptions that Leonardo da Vinci had made a long time ago. Bob Kane saw this and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to just change everything, and you tell me what you think." And he made this incredible costume for him, mind you. Bob Finger was the writer, not the artist. So when he changed the costume design of Batman, and then, the costume design alone, it's like, dude, the writer changed the costume design. That's kind of a big deal. But then he also changed a lot of like the origin story and all these other things because he was the writer. Bob Kane didn't really have a whole lot of input on this. And he knew at the end of the day, he knew he was an idiot. He knew that he was an idiot. I know I'm disrespecting the dead. You know what? It is what it is, man. He knew that he was an idiot. And if you don't believe me, how about this? Go and check out videos where you get the interviews or the conversations with Bob Kane, because there are plenty of them out there. And you can see the way that this guy talks, you can tell he's a liar through and through. And his lies are bold and they're not very well contrived, and nobody's going to believe this guy. He's delusional. Like, he's told these lies so many times, he believes them, but everybody else can see through them. Check out the interview that he did with Stan Lee, where he's trying to explain how he actually created the Joker completely out of his own mind, which, yeah, out of his mind was the only thing that was honest about that statement. And Stanley's clearly like, oh, whatever you say. He's like, no, I just told you, so that's the proof. You telling me is the proof? It's afraid that's not how it works, kiddo. So Stanley's just, oh yeah, sure, whatever you say. And he's basically telling him, yeah, no, sorry, I don't believe you. Deal with it, brah. Deal with it. So like when push comes to shove, Bill Finger goes and does all this work, and Bob Kane says, listen, you don't have to pay me for ownership rights, but you have to credit me as the sole creator of Batman. Don't include Bob Finger in this. Why would he do that? Why would he do such a thing? And so when people say, hey, Professor, how come you only say, Bill Finger created Batman? And if you even mention Bob Kane, it's in some derisive way about him picking Bill Finger's nose. Because how long did Bill Finger not get any credit, specifically because of what Bob Kane did and what DC allowed? And it took a fan. It took a fan to go and fix that. And that's just disgusting. It's a shame that's what it took, because DC couldn't get their own heads out of their butts and recognize that what they did was wrong. Why did Bob Kane do it? Because he could? Yes, because he could. I saw that interview with Stan. Stan looked like he did not believe him either. Yeah, and those two were really good friends. The Bill Finger documentary is amazing. Yeah, Dylan, I haven't seen it yet. You know what I'm saying? I just know from looking up the cases and whatnot. Oh, that's really weird. Let's see. That's why I think Finger should be given sole credit. Yeah, as many years as Kane took credit without giving Bill Finger any credit, right? Why would DC do that for Kane? Well, because you could argue that since he had the initial idea, by him saying, hey, you don't have to pay me for creator credit and you automatically get ownership of this character, like forever, this major character that DC has made more money off of than any other character, including Superman. That's probably the reason why right there. Like, they, instead of having to pay royalties to Kane and also Finger, they took it as, oh, this is a very logical argument. And once they put it down and made it legal, is what it is. Meanwhile, Bill Finger is such a creative character. He's made lots of characters, including Green Lantern. I'm just saying, he's a very creative person. Oh, you guys still have crotch shot on, and my cat's not here anymore. Sorry, no more crotch shot for you. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Yeah, Derek, I saw your comment. It's silly. Go away. Well, Fredo, yeah, you're talking about the thing worm. I saw you put that in the Discord. Oh, let me give you guys the Discord info again, because yeah, copy. I'll throw that in here. Bang! Kapow! There you go. So you got that. Yeah, man. You guys go and check out the Discord. Don't be stupid. I'll boot you. I already booted one person who's a freaking pervert. I don't like perverts. I legitimately hate perverts. They're disgusting. If you're a pervert, go to Pornhub before you come to the Discord or here, because that's just freaking. I just don't like you. Just, it is what it is. Excuse me. Seriously, go figure out your problem. Go seek help, counseling, whatever. No, can't be bothered with that nonsense at all. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. Okay, giggity. Oh, y'all gotta love Derek. And if you're not following Comic Book University on freaking what you call it, but about Facebook group, you're wrong because you're missing out on Derek and his freaking awesome family. The finger doc title is Batman and Bill. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I don't have Hulu anymore, so I guess I can't check that out. But anyway, um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nobody's really been talking about anything else, just that stuff. So it seems Kane giving up ownership makes no sense. He would not get any money, just sole credit. Yes, that's the thing. I don't know. I know he gave up, besides giving up creative control, I can't remember if he got any money. I think royalties was one of the things that he's not going to get. Um, but I think he was still getting some money for it. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, he made, honestly, the amount of money that he made by being able to say, I created Batman. That's how he would introduce himself. Uh, Hi, I'm Bob Kane. I created Batman. I'm not joking. Stan Lee would talk about it. You know, he'd be sitting with his friend Bob Kane in a restaurant. Bob Kane, who's, mind you, wearing a Batman cape everywhere he goes. Guys, everywhere he goes. The waitress would come up and be like, "Hi, what can can I get you guys, your order? Would you like to start off with some drinks or whatever?" Be like, "Hi, I'm Bob Kane. I created Batman." Some people, they just want that credit, man. They just want that credit. Plus, all the work for the easy commissions he did. Watch the way that he draws Batman. Line, 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 eyes, eyes, line, line, a little bit of coloring, a lot of black on the head. Boom, done. That's how he does. And he could charge anything that he wanted, and people would pay for it because for the most part, DC was not allowed, so therefore no one was for the most part allowed to mention Bob Kane. DC couldn't mention him, but obviously they could have because look, they mentioned him now, and therefore since he wasn't advertised, nobody knew who Bob Kane or who Bill Finger was. So you know, um, what? I'm not calling you a pervert. Bill, can you help me? My comic shop stopped selling new comics. What do I do? Okay. He said move. Order online. Um, what do you call it? Yeah, there's a couple things you could do. One, don't illegally get comic books. I'll tell you that, JT Gamer. But here, let me actually just throw it up there really quick because it's a solid question. Yeah, if there are no other comic book shops around you, which does seem to be a continuous problem in the world, that's a legitimate complaint. Not enough comic book stores. Consider going to like Marvel Unlimited and DC Unlimited. With DC Unlimited, you also get the DC streaming app. That's not a bad buy. And it's like the same price, you know what I'm saying, as the Marvel one. And you get their comics. I think you still get their comics immediately, but as for the Marvel comics, I think you still have to wait 6 months for the new comics. So you might have to wait for the new comics, but you're still going to get a vast library of comics. Another suggestion, consider going to Comixology. And you can actually buy a member. You don't have to buy each individual comics. You can actually get a membership on Comixology and get a whole bunch of things that are coming to you all the time with, one price. Another way to do it is through Amazon because guess who owns Comixology? Amazon. So if you have an Amazon account, like an Amazon Prime account, there are certain comic books that you're going to get for free anyway. So, there's that. Anyway, there are a bunch of. Oh, also, I forget if DC does it or not, but Marvel does still do subscriptions. You can bypass your comic book store and have them come directly to you and at a reduced price. If you live in the United States, it's actually a really solid option. There are comic books that I would love to do that with. I'm not joking. But shipping to Canada sometimes is either non existent entirely or way too expensive. It's usually just non existent. But yeah, that is what it is. So yeah, there are multiple ways to get your hands on your comic books and you'll be perfectly fine. Comixology is awesome. You're right, Sue Ann, because yeah. Um, Hey, Tim Board, I can totally see myself doing that when I'm 80 and senile. Hi, I'm Hawkman. Waitress, that's nice, sir. Please put your shirt back on. Tim Board is Okay. I've talked with Tim before, and I didn't realize that you were this funny, dude. That's actually really good. Please put your shirt back on. Guys, make sure you check out Tim Board's Facebook group and or probably more of the and, less of the or, the Twitter account, and all the other stuff that he shares if you want to get in on Hawkman. If you're already a Hawkman fan, you can prove it by showing me that you're actually already subscribed to this guy. It's all free. He puts his stuff out for free because yeah, he's a genuine fan of Hawkman. Gets his name published all over the place because of his Hawkman love. There's a reason for it. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, 4 subs and I'll be at 400 hopefully by Sunday. I'll get there. Okay, so guys, right over here, I already own. Oops, that's Daniel. What do you think about the Fantastic Four and Avengers run of Jonathan Hickman? Beyond amazing. So there's that. Anyway, right over here, bang. I already own Dylan's Soul because I got him above 300. How about you guys let me doubly own his soul by getting above 400 by now? So yeah, a couple people go over there and throw him a quick sub so that yeah, I can own him. I can own him forever and ever. Cult film video, Hawkman all day. That's what I'm talking about. The love, man, the love. DC has a crap load of good books on their app. Yeah. Already subbed, bruh? Chillmonger is awesome. How many of Stan Lee's creations do you think he actually created? The only one that he didn't. Well, that's the thing. You gotta look at it. Since Stan Lee was the first person to actually start giving creator credit to people, it's really hard to know, you know? The Fantastic Four characters, like, are they based off of his own? Because a lot of that was his own input, but a lot of it was also inspiration that he got from some of Jack Kirby's already created stuff. So it's hard. Like, does inspiration equal plagiarism? Because I don't think it does. But it also depends on how much. Jack Kirby would say this. Many other people would say that. You know, saying Jack Kirby was. Listen, Jack Kirby got screwed, blued, and tattooed his entire comic book life. I mean, he made good money when he was producing his work. The problem is that when you've created that many characters, I figure that you should also get credit for these things. And unfortunately, he really didn't get a lot of permanent like royalties coming to him, and he should have. His family should be taken care of for life. You know what I'm saying? Why did it take Jim Shooter to finally get him back half, at least, of his original work? You know what I'm saying? So he could start selling that stuff. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing, you know, but it is what it is. So no, I think that he did what he could, you know. But Stan Lee's been pretty honest. Like I had the only autograph I have of Stan Lee is this one poster that I have by um sorry cat, sorry Bagel, J. Scott Campbell. Anyway, go ahead Bagel, good girl. So what have you now? It's got all these different original creations by Stan Lee. One of them on there is Doctor Strange, and it's like, hey, Jay Scott, maybe check out the history because it turns out, um, uh, what do you call it? So anyway, yeah, like he admits he had something to do with the creation of Doctor Strange, but he's like most of that credit, the vast majority of that credit should go to Steve Ditko. I always think that Stan Lee's been very fair. You know what I'm saying with what he said, and he's got his own opinions. And something very unfortunate happened in regards to Stan Lee. Jack Kirby and most of the people around him died before Stan Lee did. You know what I'm saying? Ditko, lived about the same amount of time, but everybody else, it's like, see you later, Derek. Everybody else, it's like Stan Lee outlived pretty much everybody, which means the thing I was talking about before about it's rude to talk bad about the dead. With Stanley still alive, they could just blame him. It's like, oh, Kirby said this, and now he's not here to defend himself anymore. Well, maybe he should have made his case a little bit better. Maybe he should have been more honest about some of the things he says. Like I said, Jack Kirby did not create Spider-Man, but he's on videotape and audio saying that he created Spider-Man. That right there makes the dude suspect with, a lot of the things he says. You actually have to start looking at receipts. And fortunately, a lot of those receipts are there and you can start looking. honesty, the integrity of some things. And like when it comes down, or when it comes down to it, meh, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, unfortunately, Stan Lee wound up outliving a lot of the people out there, but he didn't outlive his detractors. So, hey, you're still alive. I can still blame you. And that's just not cool, man. It's not cool, but it is what it is. Here's a great comment right here, Del Hotchkiss. What do I think of Vince Coletta? Well, I saw that video also. Who wrote that? Who did that video? I want to actually give credit where credit's due for that. Who actually did that video? Um, anyway, yeah, not a fan. Vince Coletta, that's a different story. Um, Vince Coletta is. I don't really have too much of a problem with Vince Coletta. Look, inkers have to do what inkers have to do, and you also have to follow through with your work. Look, I'm a big advocate for taking responsibility for yourself, for everything around you, everything involving you, everything. So when push comes to shove, yeah, he was not a very proactive business person. He wasn't a proactive anything. He was a great artist, and that's all he did was his art. Comic tropes. Thank you. I've got some bad things to say about comic tropes. Sorry, I know he's a much bigger channel, and there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are not going to like what I've got to say. But like I said, I'm a straight shooter. I speak honestly. And when push comes to shove, yeah, there are ways to do things, and clickbaity kind of things, not cool. It kind of borders on Comicsgate. I'm not saying he's a comic skater because I don't know him well enough, but I mean, when push comes to shove, like there's a certain level of integrity you can have when you're reporting on something. I mean, geez, I've reported on certain characters that or certain people who are kind of like characters who just, you're not doing the like these are not necessarily great people. And I report on the bad, but I also report on the good. And I point out, hey, blah, 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 blah. And maybe this guy was suffering from mental illness and things like that. Who knows? But like when push comes to shove, this guy, comic tropes, whatever, he goes and he does this thing about Greg Land. Oh, the best tracer in comics history. Well, you've already set the tone for how people are going to, if people like you, you've already set the tone for how people are going to view your video and the people who you're talking about as influencers. And that's what we are. Content creators, we are influencers. All right. Why did Minecraft make such a huge such a huge return impact on the world? Because PewDiePie started playing Minecraft. Stop for a second and think about that. A video game that was mostly gone, all of a sudden, boom. Wow. Because one guy started playing it. I'm nowhere near the level of influencer, and neither is Comics Tropes that PewDiePie is. But we are still impact. We still make an impact nonetheless. We're still influencers. And whether you're influencing one person or a billion, you know what I'm saying? You gotta take some kind of responsibility for who you are, what you are. When he did that video with Greg Land, I'm like, dude, this is just ridiculous that he would go and talk about it like this. Like he's stealing things because you're going to call him a tracer and things like that. Is he tracing? Is he actually tracing? Because I've never seen the tracing paper. I've never actually seen him doing this. Because one of the parts of art, and I know this because I used to consider myself an artist back in the day. On my Facebook, you can see a whole bunch of the art that I used to do. Not nearly all of it. I gave most of that stuff away, and my little brother wound up losing that stuff, which is really messed up, man. Really messed up. I'm a little bit mad about that, but I did give it to him, and he was only 12. So take responsibility for yourself, right, Bill? Yes. So anyway, uh, what do you call it? One of the things that I used to do to practice my art was I would look at life and I would try to make it into art. I would look at, let's say, a tree or a bunch of trees on a pond, and I would start drawing it and everything around it. You know what I'm saying? It's not tracing. I would look at, sometimes when I was bored and I was sitting in school, I would look at the coat rack with all the coats hanging from it. And it's really weird the way that they're hanging up, right? And I would start drawing. It's not tracing. I would start drawing all of these things. I don't see how that's a bad thing. But those are things that you can't trace, right? But what about when I'm looking at a book? If I just trace, like, that's not getting any skills. So I'll look at it and be like, let me see if I can copy this person's art style. Blah, 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 and I'll try and do my own thing. Well, as it turns out, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But none of it is tracing. It's looking, it's copying, it's imitating, it's paying homage. There's a lot of different things on here, man. Um, so like, is it actually tracing, or is he just paying homage to it? He's looking at it as like, this is beautiful. I've always wanted to put this in art. I'm going to pay homage to this and put this in art. You know what I'm saying? Dude, some people, a couple people, two people got a little bit mad at me for how bothered I was by the recent Immortal Hulk Great Power comic book that just came out this week. It's not my top comic book on there, but it's my second from top comic book. This one right here. People got upset at me for this because I'm like, he didn't add anything. Tom Taylor didn't do it. This is the first book that Tom Taylor did that I didn't like. You go and check out the review for that. But I'm like, the Spider Hulk character, we've seen this character before. I forgot which original comic book it was. People told me it's Web of Spider-Man number 70. I remembered. Thank you. But it's more than that. It's like this was also done, I think, by Greg Pak. I didn't bother to look it up. In the not the Illuminati, the Intelligentsia storyline with the Hulks. You know what I'm saying? The World War Hulks storyline or whatever. Like, dude, we've seen this character before, and he literally didn't add anything. I was just bothered by it. But some people were like, but he's just paying homage to these old stories. Okay, well, he didn't give credit to these old stories, so there's that. So did he, as a writer, did he writer style trace this story? If you ever pay homage to something, when you look at the works of like, oh, for crying out loud, I know these guys. But some of these guys who do like, the hip hop covers. Who's the guy who did the hip hop covers? I know his name. It's right there in my head. I was just hanging out with my buddy Andrew, who actually went to, no, not Andrew, Ferdinand, who actually went to a class with this guy. Picos? Crap, what the heck is his name? Anyway, somebody's going to mention it, and I'm going to thank you for it. So anyway, yeah, dude, I really just like, you know what I'm saying? Doing the hip hop rendition covers, is that just tracing also? Because it's all you're doing is instead of putting in like, this famous person, you're going to put this in instead. Cute, cute. So comic tropes goes and says, oh, he's tracing. Sure. But now the burden of proof is on you to prove to me that he's tracing as opposed to copying or paying homage or anything. Did you interview the man? Did you catch the guy at a comic book convention? What did you do? No. You simply go and say something like this. And that's just dirty, man. That's just dirty. If that's the case, fine. Has anybody else ever said something about Greg Land before? Cool. Comic tropes, he's tracing. He's just tracing other people's work. Let's be realistic. We're all tracing. Because if that's the case, how many brand new ideas are there really? Have we all run out of ideas and we're just rehashing other people's ideas at some point? Hey, you know what? What do you call it? The television. Hey, the television was all based off of the physics work that Albert Einstein did. But all the work that Albert Einstein did, most of that is based on the work of what do you call it? Who came before him? Sir Isaac Newton. Most of that work came from him, from the work that he did. So were all these guys just tracing off of each other? Like, there's no proof, but there's a statement made, right? So now he goes and he makes another hot video that people are in love with because he's making accusations that he can't back up. He simply can't back these arguments up. Like, oh, Vince Coletta, he did this, he did that. Okay, cool. But here's the thing. Who did you interview? Where are your sources for this? Because he's reporting this like it's news. I give receipts when I talk about the stuff that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm sitting here, Ed Pisker, yes, thank you, cult film video. Oh, yeah, you did up there. Yes. I don't know if somebody else said it first. Nope, it was you. You were the first. Thank you. It was Ed Pisker. Anyway, what do you call it? When he goes and starts saying the stuff about Ed Pisker, about Vince Coletta, like, come on, man. Here's a guy who was working for a company, and his big thing was about putting this work out. He was about getting this stuff done on time, and he did take the shortest. Sure, maybe that's the case. Did you actually talk to Mr. Vince Coletta? Do you have any articles written by him or interviews by him? Do you have any proof for the things that you're saying? Who told you these things? He doesn't even say I've got sources in confidence. Like, I'm actually like, these kinds of things, they actually get me a little bit upset. He used Vince Coletta's biography for the source. Okay, cool. I'm glad that he actually said that. Um, Boom. Um, so okay, cool. He used his biography. Here's the thing. When push comes to shove, man, like, he's working for a company. And when did Jack Kirby turn around and say, "Hey, I don't like that you're doing this stuff. I'm going to need a different inker on this"? Because Jack Kirby had more pull than he gave himself credit for. The trick is, he would do something, he'd put it out, and he just assumes. Look, I loves me some Jack Kirby. I love a lot of people, but come on, man. Come on, man. At some point, you got to take responsibility for yourself. And unfortunately, Jack Kirby's never going to get that chance to do that now. It was a brand new industry that he entered into. All right. And he was probably the most talented person out there. At the very least, somebody, and his name was Stan Lee, recognized him as somebody who you could build a brand off of. And he gave this guy as much as he was actually able to do, but he simply looked at an idea and he's like, "Hey, Archie, Uncle, this guy over here, Jack Kirby's freaking awesome. Can we do something with this guy? Can we actually make it so that his work is the major work that's done? Hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that." Stan Lee was a freaking kid who came in and he didn't even want to stay in comic books. He didn't even want to stay in comic books, writing his love stories and stuff like that. Got it big with this guy doing Fantastic Four, and then kind of X-Men, and then definitely Spider-Man, and all the other things that he did. You know what I'm saying? And Kirby was literally just there. I'm just going to draw. I'm just going to draw. I'm just going to draw. If all you're going to do is draw, well, then all you get is drawing. That's all you get. That's all you get is drawing. The Inhumans don't stand a chance, Mark Guerrero. The new guys are going to destroy them. That was the easiest one you've ever given me. Like, for crying out loud, man. All we ever heard from Jack Kirby, anytime that he would talk, would be about his time in the war, which, God bless his soul, and the idea that he basically got screwed and pushed around all over this place, that place, and whatever. We hear about, there was some Nazi who made a Jew comment about him, and he ran downstairs to go and beat them up. He took responsibility for that? How come he didn't take responsibility for everything else? Dude, I'm a guy who's all about taking personal responsibility. And you can get screwed. You can get screwed. I talk all the time about how the top 1% screw us over. When people talk about, this is classism and class warfare, when you're basically saying that the rich are doing this, that, and the other thing. They're the ones who have all of the power. No, hear me out. All of the power. So when they're screwing us over, they're screwing us over. They're screwing over the system. That's not called class warfare, because the upper class, they're the ones who own the news media. And if the news media is not going to call it out, well, then nobody's allowed to call it out, right? We're being mean when we say the upper class is wrecking us. The 1% is wrecking us. That's being mean. But when they have all the power, what are you going to do? Likewise, in this situation, it's not about the company coming down on Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, much like Steve Ditko, had the right to quit. And he did. And he went over to DC, a company I already said is an extremely shady company to begin with. And they tried to build a brand around him too. And he realized, wow, these guys are actually worse than DC. Oh, his own words. And he leaves. And he goes back to Marvel. Jack Kirby could have done his own thing. He could have made his own comic book company, and he could have blown it out the water. Get a couple people around him. But he didn't want to do that. Could you imagine what the comic book industry would have been if he would have gone and done his own thing? Because people would have followed him. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to take the easy route. What happens when you take the easy route? You're working for somebody else. Dude, I could make a lot more money than I'm making right now if I were just what do you call it? Go and get a job someplace. If I were to go back into engineering, you know what I'm saying? I'd make a whole lot of money doing that. But I decided to take a huge risk and work for myself because that's what I want. And I'm not making as much money as I would like to make, but I'm comfortable. And you just simply have to take responsibility for your own actions. And this makes me happier. So when I turn around, like AEW making their own company, you're not wrong there, Chill. You're not wrong at all. They made their own company. And some people are taking a chance on this company and doing what they're doing. Can you blame CM Punk for saying, I don't like the way that the WWE is treating me? I think that I'm a bigger star than the credit that they're giving me, and I'm going to leave the company now in order to go off and do my own thing. So screw the WWE. And look what happened. Now he's working through them. He's working there. He's doing stuff, but it's Fox who gives him his paychecks. You know what I'm saying? Was he right? Was he wrong? He's taking responsibility for himself. And instead of just sitting around complaining about the storylines that he's been given, he's like, I'm going to do my own thing because at the end of the day, I got to be responsible for myself. Jack Kirby should have taken more responsibility for himself. This is not disrespecting the dead. This is not disrespecting Jack Kirby. I actually got into an argument, not a mean argument, but an argument for what do you call it, with a guy who actually worked for the Jack Kirby, or who actually currently works for the Jack Kirby Museum. The guy doesn't follow me anymore. He doesn't comment anymore. I don't think he's around anymore. It is what it is. I can live with that. I hope he can. But like, this is my opinion based on stuff that I've seen in the Jack Kirby Museum YouTube site. Yes, there's a YouTube site. Go and check it out. So I can't sit here and say that freaking Vince Coletta was a great guy or this, that, or the other thing. But he's a guy who simply worked through the company. The company was okay with it. And Jack Kirby never bothered to go back and look at the work to see if it met his standards. You just assume that these guys are going to do right by you. You assume that the inker is going to be any good. Oh, well, he's a nice guy, so it's fine. Nice guy? I watched the video. He also found out what he was doing, and he let it go for how many years? At the end of the day, just it is what it is. So basically giving crap to Vince Coletta for what? To make a stupid YouTube video? And that's not me saying that Comics Trope sucks. No. They're all stupid YouTube videos. It's just us showing up here and there, whatever. And this is just my opinion on it, man. That's why I'm not subbed to the guy. We could have ourselves a conversation. I'm happy to have a conversation with the dude. And I'm not going to sit here and start doing anything that I'm not doing right now. I'm not going to call him names or anything like that. This is literally just me looking at it as, dude, we have a responsibility to report fairly, but to not be a jerk about it. Because like it's not about, and this is why I say it's not too different from Comicsgate. What does Comicsgate do? They've got a valid opinion, and a lot of them are most of them seem to be like fiery misogynists. You know what I'm saying? But like, when that being said, when push comes to shove, they had a good argument that really can't be used too much more anymore, because Marvel is going about trying to fix the problems that Comicsgate had with it, because they're not a huge crowd, but they're very squeaky noisy. But it's all about being the biggest jerk you possibly can about it. I saw that Comics Trope video about Greg Land, and I'm like, dude, I really hope he's not going to do something like that again. And again, wasn't my intent to bring that up. It was brought up. And I'll talk about whatever you guys are talking about. I was getting ready to leave. I was getting ready to leave this live chat, this live stream, so I can go off and start prepping my for my podcast that I'm doing with Chill in a little while. You know what I'm saying? Actually, that's got to start like later after midnight, because yeah. Anyway, but dude, like, then he goes and he does this one where he's like, it's right in the title alone. He might as well put SJW in capital letters next to, in the title also, and put a picture of Mark Waid doing the yelling face on there, like a lot of these comics gators do, because it's not very much different. It's about, let's get a highly clickbaitable title You know what I'm saying? Vince Coletta's a big name. What's next? You gonna call Gil Kane a pedophile or something? What? That's a step too far to say something like that? Sure. Watch. Keep watching. Because if this cat keeps on going down the road that he's going at, dude, you got to take responsibility for your actions and for your words. Like that was so irresponsible to make that video so derisive. There was no purpose in that. And that's the reason why like I have no interest in like another clickbaity tile. Cool. Do what you got to do. And hey man, I saw Roy Thomas went and shared the video and didn't give a comment on it. Maybe he agrees with it. Maybe he disagrees with it. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I genuinely just don't care. I don't worship any of these people. I don't worship any of these guys who are out there doing the things that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? The comic book writers or the comic book YouTubers or the comic book anything. I don't worship any of these guys. You know what I'm saying? I had that conversation with Jim Shooter. So that whole thing about the letter that he did at the end, that what do you call it? Vince Coletta did at the end, according to Shooter, they were a lot like that. Who do I believe? Who do I believe? Because the people who wound up owning the company, you look at the stories, you look at what's going on. It is what it is. Maybe Shooter. It seems to me like Shooter wasn't a great leader. There are people who I'm friends with in the comic book industry, and they're just like, hey man, check it out. Um, because I was making a suggestion to somebody, hey, um, I'm doing, I'm making my own stories and whatnot, and I was thinking about getting Jim Shooter to be an editor on it because he was a great editor during the Marvel Comics days. Like it was the highest heyday of success that they've ever had, for crying out loud. Even to this day. And I mean, when push comes to shove, he said he would do it for free, which is really awesome. And the guy was like, first off, you're better off keeping your relationship one where you're not actually working for him. Knowing him as a friend or whatever outside is one thing, but actually working for him is a different, because he can be very derisive in that regard. He can be very, not subjugating. What's like just volatile. You can be really angry. You can really push people the wrong way. Like, well, no, I'm a soldier, or a former soldier. I don't take insults, in a very like, oh my God, my feelings are hurt. I'll just be like, wow, this guy called me a mother effer. That's cool. Interesting. I don't care. Water off a duck's back, right? But they're just like statements like that, and I don't agree with some of those statements, and some of them I do agree with, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I don't know. Like when you comics trope stuff feels it's clearly very, very clickbaity, without a shadow of a doubt, and there is a lot of substance there. But I mean, when you only have one, even if it's Vince Coletta's own biography that's being used, if that's actually what was said in there, cute. So you used one source. You used one source. Oh, but it's his own source. That's cute. So you used one source. That's what you're saying. If that's the case, name your video, hey, a conversation about Vince Coletta's um whatever, his biography. But no, instead he chooses the very clickbaity name, Vince Coletta, the artist who ruined Jack Kirby's work, or something to that effect. You get what I'm saying, right? That's just wrong, bro. That's just wrong. And if that's the way you want to play, cool, man. You're no different than a Howard Stern. You're no different. You're just some guy who's going to say some outlandish thing. You're not really going to do any actual reporting. And let's be realistic. This is what the news reporters do nowadays. To this very day, this is what news reporters do. This guy says this, that guy says that. The Republicans say this, the Democrats say that. Like I said, imagine if the news, the sports was promoted the same way. Hey, the Bruins fought or played against the Oilers. I don't know if those are. I think they're both real teams. I think one is football, one is hockey. But anyway, the Giants go against the Jets. It's a New York thing, New York, New Jersey thing. Yeah, the Giants and the Jets, played against each other for some reason. And hey, the Giants say they won, and the Jets say that they won. You'd be all sorts of pissed off. You would be infuriated if that's the way that sports was reported. Nothing needs to be reported that way. There used to be this thing called investigative journalism. I don't know how many people freaking Comics Trope goes and talks to, but I've gone out of my way and traveled mile after mile after mile to be crossing the border, Canada and America. You know what I'm saying? In order to meet these people and talk with these people, reach out through them through Twitter and Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Go and check out my Facebook. Look at all the writers and the artists that I'm friends with. You know what I'm saying? If I'm only talking to, and I'm talking to a lot more than 10% of them, but imagine if I was only talking to 10% of them. That's still more than most people are. I'm trying to get the freaking stories. I'm trying to compare notes and see what everybody's saying. I'm not clowning around, man. I'm legitimately trying to get the actual answers, and I'm not trying to make stupid ass clickbait. And that's one of the reasons why clickbait. Freudian slip, but it fits. Why Comics Trope is so much bigger than my channel. I'm a rinky-dink ass little channel, and who cares, right? And it's true. I'm a stupid little channel that, for the most part, a couple people care about. And if this guy were to go and do a live stream right now while I'm doing this one, maybe most of you guys wouldn't be here, and I'm okay with that. I'm doing me. I'm doing me. You know, and dude, if you want to try and make a circus and hope that people are going to show up, they probably will. They probably will. That's the reason why, if you have like a political candidate who could potentially change your life over here, and a freaking, I don't know what, I'm old, so, like a Led Zeppelin concert over there, loves me some Zeppelin. But the concert over there isn't going to change my life in a positive way or a negative way the way that this one could. I think I better learn about my candidate. I'm going to go and we're going to check that out. I'm actually going to prioritize my news. That's just me. So it is what it is. Thank you, Sue Ann. I have nothing negative to say about Geoff Johns, Corey. Absolutely nothing. So anyway, yeah, I'm about to bounce at Jets versus Giants, Winnipeg versus San Francisco. Well, thank you very much. You didn't know who Vince Coletta was before this? No big deal. You can't know everything. But so here's the thing. Think about that. What will we just see here? Before the episode. Well, there you go. So Taki, look at Taki's comment and think about what that means. You think about what I always say, the John Byrne rule. All right? Every comic book that you read, every comic book that you create is somebody's first comic. Every video that I create is somebody's first video. And that goes with everybody. Somebody in this chat, if not in this chat, then later they'll see it, is their first video. Dylan, are you up to, I see Dylan's still here. Dylan, are you getting did you get your 400 yet? Do you owe me your soul? Yeah, boom. Really good point right there. Really good point. But I mean, oops, Venom Island's so good. I can't wait to see what's coming up next. So anyway, what's this? Professor, you're not such a small-time channel. The official sci-fi channel only had about twice as much as you. Oh, cool. I appreciate that. I still always see myself as a small guy. But anyway, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm 6'5". I still see myself as a small guy. But anyway, I literally just look at it as you got to take responsibility for what you do. You got to, because if Taki 616 never heard of Vince Coletta before this, the only thing that he knows is Comic Trope's version of it, and that's disgusting. I'm like, that's just facts. That's disgusting. I could make a whole bunch of videos about a whole bunch of people right now. I could, but I'm not comfortable with it because I don't think I have enough facts yet. You know what I'm saying? I want to make something about Dick Giorgiano. I want to make one about Dick Ayers. I want to make a lot of Dick videos. Maybe that says something about me. Anyway, I want to put together a whole bunch of these videos, you know what I'm saying, about all these different writers and artists and, pencilers and inkers and colorists and the letterers. You know what I'm saying? I did the Artie Simek one because that one was easy. For me, that was easy. You know what I'm saying? Because everything's said and done. And it should be easy to get all of these individuals so that you can have a complete story about these characters, or these people who made all these characters who we love, you know? Um, but I'm nervous to do it because I don't know that I have all the information yet. I would love to get a whole lot more information about these people before I just sit down and go, oh, yeah, here you go, bang, done, you know? Be a journal. Let's see what over here. Mitch Joel. Be a journalist, not someone spurring opinions and thoughts that are not substantiated. Do the work. It's hard. That's why it's work. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. You know what I'm saying? There's one thing being a Dear Abby gossip column. You know what I'm saying? There's another thing being the writer of an opinion piece. And there's another thing actually being there's another thing being an anchor who just somebody else does the work and you just read crap off a teleprompter. And then there's the people who are actually investigative journalists, and you rarely see them today. Even in the mainstream media, you rarely hear about these people anymore, you know? And I can say with authority that Comic Tropes is not one of those people. If you like that, like now I feel like Martin Scorsese is saying he's like one of the theme parks, and there's lots of theme parks. You know what I'm saying? There's lots of comic book YouTube channel theme parks. Comic Skates are probably the biggest, At the end of the day, man, hey, you can act like that all you want, but it's not very responsible to just especially to look at one source, even if it's the man's own work, you know? Dude, you look at one source and you go and make a video of that, you don't cite the stuff. Nah, that's not cool. That's simply not the way that journalism is done. Oh, there we go. I'm going to end it with that. I'm going to end it right there. 401. Boom. I hit 400, Professor. Thanks once again, brother. Always really appreciate the support. And thanks for all the support and everyone in the chat. You are the best. We are the best. And I what am I going to do with Dylan? I'm going to have to do something with Dylan. I'm going to have to do something with Dylan, man. Like, dude, you're talking to all these big time, these guys who are getting more views and whatnot. You get like Comic Bueller and Gem Mint Collectibles and all these big time dudes out there. What's going on, man? What's going on? And I'm getting you all these subs. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. You know what? In the morning, you're making waffles. You are my favorite flying donkey. You guys are awesome though, man. And yeah, thanks for hooking Dylan up. He's a solid channel, so definitely go and check the dude out. Don't just sub and walk away. Sub and check out some of his stuff, man. He's the great uniter. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm going to finish this off with Corey's statement here. Deputy Sheriff Corey. In the main media, the journalists are not the people who are in front of the camera. They're the people working for and in front of the camera, people giving them their facts. Yeah, a couple of misspellings. I think for the most part, it's pretty easy to understand exactly what he's saying. The focus should not be on the journalists. The focus should be on the story. You know what I'm saying? And not the clickbait, not the this. Dude, you present the facts as they are. If people don't want to come to them, then they don't come to them. And that's just really all there is to it. You don't need to be all like, let me think of this really cool title to get people to come in. No. If the content is there, people will come to it. And if they like it, they'll stay. And that's all there is to it. And honestly, if people like the circus and the sideshow and all that nonsense, and they like that stuff better than my channel, you're welcome to go. If you like them both, cool. You can like them, but you can like more than one thing. But at the end of the day, that's not me. And I'm actually frustrated when I see people being that irresponsible in this medium of comic books that I love so much. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. You report on just one aspect of it. And you know what? This is Joe Rogan. Forget anything I've got to say. Look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, when he got criticism about Bernie Sanders, he says, you remember the thing I said about Bernie Sanders? I said, with almost any person, you could focus on the worst moments of that person's life and make a big media, debacle about it and show this person to be a terrible person. And you can't do that with Bernie Sanders because he really doesn't have anything negative in his life. Old guy who's done all these good things for people his entire life, and boom, and just like everything's about substance with this guy. He's not about nonsense. He's giving you substance. He's giving you policy. He's telling you what he's going to try and do for the people, as opposed to people saying, we've just got to come together. What does that mean? And he's like, but you know what? Look at the hypocrisy here. All of a sudden, these people come back to me. Joe Rogan is still saying this. These people come back to me and they start focusing on, oh, I said this and I said that and I said these things. He's like, they come at me and they say that I'm a homophobe. He's like, I'm not a homophobe. I'm not a transphobe. You know what I'm saying? They focus on me. Joe Rogan was talking about one particular person who was a guy who is now a female. What other products transitioned into a female to become an MMA fighter. And this person was not a good MMA fighter, just still has the strength of a man. And he's still calling her a she. But he's like, but she still has the strength of a man, and these fights don't look like some skilled fight where there's arm lock. It looks like a guy beating on a woman. That's what it looks like, a man beating on a woman. That's what it looks like. That's what he says. So they focus on that and they say, oh, see, he's a transphobe. Let some of these women get into a fight with a guy who's transitioned into a girl. Watch what happens. He's not wrong on that. Rogan's not wrong on that. Meanwhile, he's also had he's made many statements that they don't choose to focus on. He's the one thing he says, which I think is hysterical. He says, and he had the world's strongest gay guy. It's like a strongman competition, and he's gay. He's openly gay, this dude. And he has him on, and the guy's like, dude, your one tweet is my favorite tweet, and I retweet it all the time to anybody who's got a problem with me. Joe Rogan sent a tweet one time. He says, if you're against gay people, you're either such and such, or you're either stupid, or you secretly think that dicks are delicious. That is one of the funniest freaking comments in the world. And it's clearly not the tweet of a homophobic guy. Just saying. So you choose to focus on one thing that Rogan says, and all of a sudden, he's a bad guy, he's a bad guy. Look at the hypocrisy. You want to focus on one bad thing that, and it's opinionated. What the one bad thing? Is it bad if he didn't, if nobody comes to him and says, this is bad? Is it bad? Vince Coletta. Is it bad if he does this one thing that after it's said and done, somebody says, oh, it's bad? Nobody said it was bad during the time. According to his own work, nobody said it was bad during the time. So why do you turn around and say something like, oh, the man who ruined Jack Kirby's work? That's a great way to focus on things. If you're really dishonest in what you're doing and you're doing exactly what Joe Rogan said, is the worst possible thing to do. Whatever, man, it is what it is. John Jones winning tonight. Yeah, I don't watch MMA. I like WWE because people aren't actually getting aren't actually getting hurt necessarily. You could get hurt by a chair shot, but you get what I'm saying. What's this Dylan thing over here? Do I sell it? You're hysterical. A segment coming from Bill. In the morning, I'm making waffles. Well, we're not going to rip off Comics with Bueller with that coffee and actually, other people have done coffee and comics for a long time before him. But there's no copyright, so he can do what he wants. Anyways, we're not going to be ripping off of people and doing the waffles and comics in the morning. Although I wouldn't be adverse. I'm just saying I had some cinnamon waffles this morning. Like I made them myself and they were freaking awesome, but I'm also biased. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get at coffee and waffles. Yeah, but what about the freaking comics? It's just, that would be the show. People would get pissed, man. It'd be the lowest rated show ever. We got to throw a comic book in there anyway. Yeah, we'll see what's up. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. I still got some work to do. I'm gonna be talking to my man Chillmonger in a bit, and I've got to eat. I actually didn't eat dinner. I made dinner for the family, and I didn't actually eat the dinner. So maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm just hangry. Maybe that's what it is. It might just be that I'm hangry. Anyway, I'm out. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Love you guys. Class dismissed.